All right, thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of CBI Bikes Tailgate Tales. By popular demand, we have the master of disaster, Steve Winn, with us. Today we're going to be having some fun, talking about fat biking action. We still got a lot of that going on. Hopefully winter for a couple more months, right? Anyways, without further ado, we're going to turn it over to Steve, and let's talk some fat bikes.
I've got one question. Master of disaster?
It just flowed. It just came out. I'm like, it's like...
What happened? What's happened to my reputation?
Well, I mean, the other options were like Mr. Watermelon for your Yeti, but I promised that I wouldn't say that on camera, which now I broke that promise.
Did.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on again.
I'm happy to be here.
So recently you just completed the Fat Bike Pursuit.
Yeah.
For our listeners, tell us a little bit about that. What's going on with that?
Yeah, sure. It is, the Fat Pursuit is a race that is held up in Island Park. And Jay Peterberry, who's a world-class endurance rider, who's done the Iditarod races, the 350 miles, and then also 1,000 miles to Nome in Alaska, middle of winter, full-on survivalist type of mentality. And he puts on this race that is both a 60K and a 200K. And the 60K is really an introductory to the 200K. Uh-huh. And the 200K, those people, they spend the night out there. And we start at the Sawtooth Mountain Resort and go over the top of Two Top, all the way down into Harriman on the 200K, and then back up. So that is a qualifier for the Iditarod 350, is what I've been told. So really fun caliber of people that are there, and really encouraging. So I raced the 60K this year. Yeah. If you could call my speed race, but I did complete it.
It is on a slow bike though, so no one's going to expect record times by any means.
Yeah, which amazingly, like when I first got there, I do this. Everyone has their motive. Mm-hmm. My motive is to have the experience and to complete it. Mm-hmm. When I first got there, it was kind of funny because you could tell the racers that were there to race because they had their really lightweight, tight gear on and the racing shoes, and they were ready to go. And, if truth be told, I wish I was that cool. And I wish I was that fast, but I'm not.
It's okay that you're not wearing spandex in the snow. That's all right.
Yeah, but man, they looked cool. They looked fast. Yeah. And inevitably, the leader, right on course, twice as fast as what I was. I came in 55th place. I think there was 71 racers there. Okay. So I didn't finish last, so I felt good about that.
That's probably better than most of us would have done.
That means maybe there's a third or less that might possibly be envious of my position in 55th.
Yeah, that's still fantastic. And I don't think that it's very easy to really, listening to this, I don't think people understand how far that really is, going 60 kilometers on a fat bike through the snow with changing conditions, and you're putting along. That's an undertaking, frankly.
Yeah, that's one thing about fat biking is the trail is always changing. Mm-hmm. And what one rider may experience on the same day within the same hour may not be what another one is experiencing.
For sure.
And that was definitely the case here. On this, the morning that we started, it was 29 degrees. And I should have anticipated trail conditions because they were pretty sloppy right away.
Oh, especially if you got guys gunning from the get-go and you come in the middle of the pack, it's going to be already torn up and mashed potatoes.
Yeah. What I decided to do is I decided to get up near the front of the line because I just wanted to have the experience. Normally I'll hang back, but I just wanted to see what would it be like to come out of the gate and to have all these people around you and be shoulder to shoulder, and it was exhilarating. So it was sloppy, it was sliding around, and
I could see you treating it like a crit, just bodying people up,
I
knocking
was
guys
like
off their fat bikes.
I went to pass one guy, and my pogey, and he appeared to be about 6'5" or taller. My pogey like smashed into his bike and on his handlebars, and I did throw out I'm sorry. I did give him I'm sorry, and I thought I'm not sure if other racers are like, oh, I'm sorry. But I was feeling conscientious. Sorry, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Moving forward with this, I mean, you got the whole experience here doing the 60K, and just talking with you the other day about it. You're hungry for more. You got this on the brain right now.
Oh man, yeah. It is an endurance race, and to put down, it's like 35 and a half miles, but to do that in the dirt, pretty easy.
For sure.
Fat biking is twice as hard, and it tests your brain, and at least it tests mine. I'll speak for me. It tests me on these levels like right away. Like they all translate into life. For example, I started the race out at 7.5 pounds of tire pressure. Way too high.
Yeah.
I probably needed to be at least 4 to 6 pounds of pressure. So as we start, I see people going by me, and I'm looking at their tires, and I know they're a lot lower than mine. And I'm sliding this way and that way and this way and that way, as well as a handful of other people. And in my mind, I'm thinking, the race has just started, and I'm going to have to stop and take out tire pressure. And it took me a little bit. It took me about 2 miles before I'm like, okay, stop.
Yeah.
And so I stopped. I go to take off the cap off the valve there. I drop it in the snow. I didn't want to do that. Now I'm letting pressure out, and people are now passing me. And I'm having all this stuff in my head like, no!
Oh, it's got to be a panic at the beginning of the race. You're like, I don't want to be right out of the gate at the back of the pack. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so the immediately the riding became easier. And then I could see the leaders out there. They were really like, they were getting out there far.
Yeah.
And then it was so warm. I mean, within probably 3-4 miles, I had to stop again, take a layer off, and all I was pretty much riding was my base layer and just like a really light shield, kind of a jacket thing.
Keep you dry.
Yeah. And then I wore that for the rest of the race. I probably could have just been in my base layer. And
with the conditions that go around.
Yeah.
But you have to be prepared though too. Like this is something you show up, you have like a ballpark idea of what conditions are going to be, but you have to have, a variety of layering and other gear too to be ready for whatever gets thrown at you, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's the preparation. I think kind of goes, it to me after the race, I was really just looking at all the things that I'd learned just through the experience. Got to be prepared for what you're anticipating. Take care of a problem before it becomes a bigger problem. Sure. And if you stop and take care of it now, you can relieve yourself of a lot of consequences that you didn't need to experience if you did just stop and take the time to do it now. So there's just a lot of that going on during
a lot
the
of life
race.
lessons. You're not kidding.
It's way cool. Yeah.
If you could go back and do this race right now, do it over again, what would be some of the main changes you would make? Because you did this, a week or 2 weeks ago now? It's been 2 weeks?
Yeah. It was January 7th.
Okay. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. But what main changes would you make if you could run it again right now?
Same conditions and everything.
Yeah, same conditions, just running it
I
again.
would not have had the extra clothing on my bike that I had because I had a bunch of extra clothes, different layers. And so I had the seat bag on there and it was full. and I had a different, gloves and things like that, I would have emptied that bike, made it really, really light. There would have been no seat bag, anything like that. I would have started with my tire pressure way down, and I wouldn't have stopped to take photos.
You didn't tell me that part.
Yeah, that was really enlightening
Yeah.
for me. Is when you're joggling back and forth in position, you're past people and you have this moment of victory, like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then, well, for whatever reason, they get a burst of energy and they pass you. And this is what you do. And I was having fun with it. I was.
Yeah.
And then, I look and see, this beautiful scenery, and I'm like, oh man, I got to take a photo. So I stop, and you kind of move your bike over a little bit, because by that time, everyone is mostly riding in a single track on the side of the trail, because that's where the hard pack is at.
Yep.
And then you dig around, you get your phone out, and then it doesn't recognize your face because you got your gear on, and then you got to put your code in, and then, then your wool gloves isn't, it's not activating on the screen, and then you get your photo, and then you see how much ground you lost because the racers right next to you were like way out ahead of you. And, it makes you realize that if you're really racing for time, all these little decisions that you make are the decisions that add up to, 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes.
All in all, how much stoppage time do you think you had in between making like those changes, like in tire pressure and anything you're stripping down layers?
Man. Yeah, I probably, my guess would be 20 to 30 minutes. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
And that's including the aid stations.
For sure. So next year, you already, I'm sure you've thought a lot about it over the last couple of weeks of the changes you've made and some of the ones you mentioned right now. Do you plan on doing this again next year?
If you would have asked me right after the race, I would have said, heck no. And then on the way home, the euphoria kicked in and, oh yeah, I'll be back.
60 or the 200?
Oh, wow. That is a good question. Here's the thing is like, Rebecca Rush was there, the Queen of Pain, and I got to meet her, and another guy who has a YouTube channel called Dirty Teeth. I think his first name is Alan.
Okay.
And then I had a friend who finished the 200K, Jonathan Black, and Nan Pugh that I met last year up there, who finished the 200K. And I really think that's incredible what those human beings are doing.
Yeah.
And the more I got thinking about it, I thought, I really need to consider giving this a go.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, I really need to see if I can do it. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking with Jonathan, and I bought, I keep thinking I'm going to stop spending money. But
yeah,
no.
That's.
So I bought a bag. I've got a bivvy I'm picking up from her friend, Brooke Bramwell. I'm picking up a bivvy from her. I've got some other gear coming. And I'm going to explore that possibility. But I have to do it now to see if I can do it next winter. So camp outs are coming. And I just rode, I had an idea, because there's a mountain called Two Top that is on the 200K race route. When you read articles about Two Top, you hear and read about terrifying situations that these racers are up there. It's super high in elevation.
Plummeting temperatures.
They say don't start Two Top unless you can finish Two Top. Don't sleep on top of Two Top. Get off of Two Top. And depending on the year, depending on the day, depending on the hour. So I thought, as I've been marinating over this, I thought I better go ride to the top of Two Top and just see what's it all about. And that's what I did last weekend. So it's all the beginning of processing maybe 200 next year.
Here's the thing. So my pops always told me there's three kind of strengths in a person. You got the weight room strong, you got the farm boy strong, and then you got the old man strong. And if a guy's got all three, you better just watch out.
Farm boys, they're pretty tough.
Yeah. I know you got at least one of those. So next year you're doing the 200.
What are you saying right now? Are you saying I'm old man strong? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not.
I know
I know
you're looking at are you looking at these lights at my gray hair? I know it's simmering.
Those are the guys I won't tangle with it. I mean, the old man strong is scary. My old man, he'll probably kick my butt till he's 80.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm old man strong, but I'm probably old man determined. So I don't know if I really consider myself as strong. I feel very average. My feet hurt all the time. I have hip pain all the time.
You have a mental fortitude.
I've got a neck that's like all messed up right now.
Yeah.
But there's something else going on that's maybe a little psychotic.
Well, most people won't consider even going out and doing these kind of races.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're missing out.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
They're just missing out. There's just something inside that I think, we may have talked about this last time we visited, but for me, I'll be 57 this year. And I do see when the end will come when I will not be able to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And, and I have people in their 20s say, age is just a number. Well, it's okay, but age is also the way your body feels too. It is correlated.
It's easier to say that in your 20s.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And there is the mental aspect to it. Mm-hmm. And I just want to go challenge myself. I'm just really curious.
I think by continuing to do this, though, you're prolonging that age at where you're saying you can no longer do this. I think the more active you are and the longer you keep doing this, that's going to just get more or less prolonged than if you were someone who just kind of sat around.
Yeah.
I mean, because you got guys that are 57, that don't get off the couch,
Yeah. That's what blows me away, though.
And you're out here taking names.
On this race, you cannot use your age as an excuse.
Yeah.
Because there's guys up there in their 60s that are crushing it.
Yeah.
They're going for it. And you look at them, and you can't put a Hollywood image on them. Mm-hmm. It's not Mr. Muscles that's gonna win the day. It's some guy that you would think, or some woman that you would think doesn't look like.
Well, we have a lot of people in the community that are absolute animals, like Dave at Dave's Bike Shop, like as far as gravel biking and fat biking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you hear. The guy's an absolute animal.
Yes.
I mean, we have a lot of older guys in the community, in the cycling community, that have been here for a long time, that are veterans in it, that are absolute animals.
Yeah, and you go talk to Dave. He just completed the Continental Divide this last summer.
Yeah.
And beast mode. I see the stuff he's doing. It's so impressive.
That's got to show you that you can keep doing that then, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably why I am.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Going up to top was really challenging in a lot of different aspects. One, it was cold. The climb wasn't bad. There was some pushing the bike. And then when I got up on top of Two Top, I brought my stove and I made lunch up there.
Oh, right on.
And it really kind of crazy. I mean, there was like ice crystals just dropping out of thin air. And I wanted to have the experience. It took me 2.5 hours to get up there. And so as I was getting things ready, getting the stove, I remembered how they say, when you stop riding, get your puffy jacket on so the sweat doesn't freeze.
Yeah,
you've only got
insulate
so
yourself.
many minutes. And so I put my puffy jacket on, and immediately I got warm. Mm-hmm. And then I pulled out a Nalgene jug of water that I had on my front forks and had insulated in there as best as I could. And a third of that was frozen.
No joke.
And so I like shook it up as best as I could, got my stove put together, my jet boil. I know I got to probably get a different way of cooking food if I continue this, but I have the jet boil, that's what I used. I poured the water in there, and as I was getting the water to boil, I was thinking about that dry freeze bag for lunch, and I thought, oh man, I forgot my spoon. What am I going to do with that? And fortunately, I put too much water in the jet boil, so it turned my meal into soup. And so I drank it.
Down the hatch.
Yeah, I drank it. I thought, wow, that mistake taught me something. But I also warmed up my hands on the bag during that time. And then I felt like it was time to get out of there, because it was just time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you've got the whole experience here now. If you were going to give advice to someone who's like wanting to prep to do this next year, maybe even just, start with the 60K, what type of preparation would you tell them to do? And then if you had to give them like a small punch list, as if someone like didn't have any of the gear to do it, what would be kind of like the start? Obviously the fat bike, you have to have that to start, but
for sure.
What else would you do? So I guess how to prep, and then what gear are you going to need? Kind of a basic list.
Yeah, so you've got to have your fat bike for sure, and then you got to be thinking about you got to know your body. Do you run cold feet, cold hands, hot hands, and then make preparations for clothing. Mm-hmm. Me, I wear vapor barrier socks. Some people use turkey bags. I spent the $20 and got the nice vapor barrier socks. You get, so you got to understand your layers and how your layers are going to work. And when you start, you should be starting where you're kind of cold because you're going to warm up really fast. So you've got to know your layers, and you've got to be able to have places to put those layers on your bike. So you better have the bags for your bike. Then you need, of course, you're going to need your lights, because those are required out there. You got to have your tail light and your headlight. And then you got to have an extra light just in case, like a headlamp of some sort. And then you got to be thinking about your water, and then how are you going to keep your water unthawed? Mm-hmm. So one little trick that I learned from the guy on Dirty Teeth on his YouTube channel is that you get one of those little hand warmers, you bust them open, you put them in the bottom of your feed bag, turn it upside down, make sure your bottle doesn't leak before you turn it upside down, and that will keep things, thawed out.
There you go.
Those would be some of the basic stuff, and you better have your zone 2, at least your zone 2 endurance down, and that's easy enough to build.
Yeah.
And then just get out there and then get yourself in some real, if you go to Harriman and you get the nice corduroy groom trail, man, that is the coolest thing ever. It really is. I mean, that is so fun to ride. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff is really, really sweet. But that's in, conditions that you're not going to, most likely will not meet on the 60K. Yeah. So you've got to go get some experience with some trail that's been all messed up by a snowmobiler. So you can sloppy slide around this way, that way, and keep your mind in the right place when it's happening. Yeah. Yeah. Loads of prep. Yeah. I
mean, I'm so hyped up from it. Are you talking about it? I mean, I might have to even give it a go next year.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah. And it's got to beat being on a spinner all dang winter.
Yeah. Forget that spinner. I mean, yes, I have one. Yes, I do it. And I don't like it, but I force it.
Yeah.
Last year when I signed up for the 60K, and I had really idolized the whole, I had idolized everyone doing it, and I idolized the whole event, and I still kind of do. But then I was unable to to do the race because we got stuck in a snowstorm and there was a wreck and they wouldn't let traffic come through.
Oh, man.
So what I did is I had to forfeit that race, but I came back the next week and I rode that route by myself.
Oh, man.
And that was kind of terrifying because I think it was about 15 or 18 below when I started. And
that's brutal.
yeah, I learned a lot of stuff on that, just having that experience.
Yeah.
But I think once you kind of break into it and start getting a feel for it, then just like anything else, you just make provisions and the novelty starts to wear off a little bit. And then you're just in it for the experience.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I honestly, that's something that I want to give a go now, just because, I mean, that's like we talked about in our previous podcast, there's a lot of riding in places that you get to go see that are once in a lifetime that 99% of the population doesn't ever get to see, and that's got to be one of them.
Yeah.
Especially like where you did this last weekend, Two Top.
Yeah.
Again, that's got to be another thing in those kind of conditions, a place that not everyone gets to go ride up on and see from there.
Yeah. And I I've slept out in the snow before, but that's going to be the next step, really, is
Do some camp out, some overnighters.
yeah, crawl into a bivvy. I mean, what does it mean to take off your sweaty, saturated clothes, get on some dry clothes, set up the bivvy, cook, sleep in the bivvy, keep your boots unthawed, stay warm enough during this whole transition, unpack the bike, pack the bike back up. When your fingers are so cold you can hardly move them, like all this kind of care is what I'm really curious about. I mean, we all know what it is to have cold hands and not be able to zip a zipper or to button something up. We know what it is. Most of us around here know what it is to sleep out in the cold because of Boy Scouts or whatever.
For sure.
But to be in the middle of an event and to have these other dynamics and then how to eat, when to eat. That's one thing I wanted to share with you that I was talking Nan Pugh. I met her. She's signed up for the Iditarod race.
Okay.
So she'll be out there, and she rides with Jonathan Black. Well, Jonathan and Nan are going to go from Ponds Lodge in Highland Park and ride all the way up to West Yellowstone. They plan on spending however long to do it, and they want to sleep in a hotel up there this time. Well, he was trying to get me to go, and I'm like, dude, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
Like his first day on the 200K, 7 a.m., he rode his bike until 3 a.m. and only went 65 miles. That gives you any idea of this is crazy. So I told him, I said, man, dude, I'm not ready for that.
That's a sufferfest.
Yeah. And so he assured me, no, you probably are. Because if you can spend 8 hours on a bike, he said, with the right fuel, the right eating, the right diet, and learning those things, he says, you can ride like all day and into the night. And so I've chose to believe that. And I'm going to talk to him after this weekend. We'll see what intel he'll give me there.
Next year, we're going to be seeing the 200K Spandex Steve.
There'll be no spandex out there. Yeah, I just can't have people throwing up when they see me.
That's awesome. That's absolutely excellent. Thank you for sharing all this. I mean, this is awesome. Awesome experience for our listeners, too. And, honestly, everyone who's listening in, I mean, if there's one takeaway, I mean, at least for me, is hey, give it a shot. Go try this out.
Oh, yeah.
You're missing out if you're not, right?
Yeah, for sure. One little thing I should bring up is I think if anyone is thinking in terms of adventure riding, they should really be looking at a bike designed for that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because you want to be able to put the gear and you want to be able to sit in that bike a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any recommendations there? I mean, in closing, as far as bikes, like as far as like bike packing or even
it's
fat
one
bikes?
that you guys don't sell. You sure you want me to say it?
That's fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's lots of different ones. Y Cycles, they sponsored that race up there.
Okay.
It's a very expensive bike. It's titanium.
Okay.
And I think it starts out like 5,300 or something like that.
You got to be committed at that point.
You got to be committed.
You're
And
all
I
in.
tell you what, I was salivating. And I'm like, oh man. But I think if I've got a Salsa bear grease, I think if I were to buy one now, I'd be looking at I think you call it a muckluck,
Okay.
Salsa muckluck. And it's more of an adventure bike. The geometry just sets you upright a little bit more. And
Still carbon frame, yeah.
Yeah, you can
lightweight.
you can still spend the money that you
Yeah.
want. And then the other thing is like the bear grease, they have that bike came with 4-inch tires.
Okay.
And if you're on hard groom and you want speed, you can pump up the pressure and off you go.
Yeah.
It's a great, it takes off. Hands down, love it for that.
Yeah.
However, after the 60K, I was seeing people with, much fatter tires.
Like a 4.5 or a 4.6.
Or a 4.8 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were getting flotation and had a lot more stability on the trail than I was.
Low PSI, big
Yep.
squish, fat footprint.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were riding much more stable and where I was squirrely.
Yeah.
But then again, when we got on, on some hard pack on the side, well, then I had the ability to really take off
Sure.
and go.
Where they're more of like a tractor
Yeah.
tire kind of.
Yeah. So, you kind of have to just pick what it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I think I would go with the muckluck now and just have that fatter tire.
Yeah. Right on. If I have a go at this, I mean, I have to ride stuff that we have here at this point. But as far as the price point, and I mean, you can't. I'm not.
Yeah.
But anyways, another conversation. But for options that we have here, we got for listeners stuff from Da Vinci. We got the Da Vinci Minus in both aluminum and carbon frames. We got the Rocky Mountain Blizzard. Same thing, aluminum and carbon frames. You had a Blizzard for a while.
Yeah, this is a great bike.
Cool bike.
Yeah.
It's definitely, they took kind of the geometry of their hardtail mountain bike, that growler, pretty slack, aggressive geometry, very much in that fat bike. But
the cake eaters on there. Well, how wide are those?
4.5 or a 4.6 on that Terrain Cake Eater.
Yeah, and then was that a 100 mil wheel?
Yeah, I think
it
so.
was because it made it feel.
Yeah.
I miss that bike just because of the wheel set.
Get that wheel set then.
Yeah, I don't think that wheel set would fit.
Oh, might not be cross compatible.
Yep.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Well, there's lots of options out there. That's a whole nother episode there.
Yeah, it is.
But thanks again, Steve, for coming on. This is super fun as always, and lots of cool information. Love hearing your stories and your experiences, and down the road, people already like you already so much from the first episode. We're probably going to have you on here as many times as we possibly can.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm going to be doing a section of Continental Divide, so maybe we can talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for everyone who listened in on YouTube. If you like this video, make sure to click the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for more. Thanks again, guys. See ya.